Okay, so out of this analysis comes these generic strategies. The first one is overall cost leadership. Now, this one is probably the most misunderstood and misused. Overall cost leadership, also lowest cost provider, same thing. So, what this is about is a strategy that you undertake when you're the lowest cost provider. Now, in any one particular industry, how many lowest cost providers can there be? The answer is, one. One. This is not a low price strategy. This is a low cost strategy. It's not even a low cost strategy. It's the lowest cost strategy. In a low cost strategy, the lowest cost provider has some sort of attribute, competitive advantage, continuous investment plan, continuous improvement plan, so that they continue to reduce their costs to be the lowest in the industry. As a result, they can price their product or service at the same price as their competitors and make more money, or they can reduce their price, gain market share, and compete favorably against their competitors. The competitors can reduce their price as well, but they're just going to be cutting their profits. And there becomes a point at which they cannot cut their prices any lower without having a direct impact on their profitability, while the lowest cost provider can do this. Again, this is not a low price strategy. Second, differentiation. Well, differentiation is a strategy where, again, it kind of goes back to our discussion of temporary monopoly. You produce a product or service that's different than your competitive products. This different in terms of features, in terms of benefits, allows you to have some pricing power, which allows you then to maintain your profit margins. So it's selling a product or service that's different than the other products or services in the marketplace. The third is a niche strategy. Okay, we've talked about niche before. It's about focusing on a smaller segment, a subsegment, and providing quality products and services for that particular segment. Now, you can follow some sort of combination of differentiation and niche by providing a differentiated product within a niche. Keep that in mind. And the fourth is stuck in the middle. That's when your strategy is not clear whether you're differentiated or niche or overall cost leadership, and the fact that you're stuck in the middle or have a lack of strategy leads to sub-optimization and overall failure. So anyway, these are called the generic strategy: low cost provider, differentiation, niche, and stuck in the middle. And this comes out of that analysis. Okay, let's move to features and benefits. Features and benefits, very important to understand. Now, unique selling proposition, USP. You may have heard this before. What this is about what we just spoke about in large part, having a product or service that is differentiated from the other products and services in the market. Now, there's a couple of ways that this manifests itself. The first way, and the way that most companies produce differentiated sort of products, is they pick the top, let's say, 3 products: product A, product B, and product C. And they kind of reverse engineer, break them down, and look at the features that are being offered. And then they take a few features from A, a few features from B, a few features from C, perhaps the best couple of features from A, the best couple of features from B, the best couple of features from C, and they put them all together into a single product. Now, this product, having the best of all of those, is unique. Now, why do they want to be unique? Again, if they're unique and have a differentiated product that's not a commodity product, not an undifferentiated product, they can capture a larger portion of the profitability in any particular market because they have pricing power, and they can maintain their margins. Again, this doesn't mean you have to have a differentiated product. You can sell a product that's undifferentiated and still be successful, although your profit margins will probably be lower because you probably have to lower your price to enter a market that is already existing. Another way, of course, to sell an undifferentiated product is by changing the business model. So you can sell a product that's undifferentiated, but it's the way that you price it, the way that you produce it, or the way that you deliver it, which is the point of differentiation. So this A, couple of features from A, couple of features from B, couple of features from C, I call that Frankenstein product. Frankenstein product. Now, Frankenstein products are kind of weird because they're produced based on features. Okay, they're not produced based upon the needs of customers. So let's look at creating a USP a different way, my way. Now, this is very subtle. If you produce a product or service that meets the needs of the marketplace in a way that hasn't been met before, the product and service that you create will be differentiated. See, if there's a need that still exists in the marketplace, and you create a product and service that meets that need, that means the product and service that you create will have to be different than the current product and services available. So what you do is you focus on meeting the need, and focus on meeting the need, you will create a product and service that's different than the marketplace. You don't have to Frankenstein a product. You just have to understand the needs of the customer, and you just have to meet those needs in a way that hasn't been met before. It's subtle. It's relatively straightforward. I'm not saying it's easy, but that's how you create a differentiated product. You focus on the customer, not on building Frankenstein products. Features and benefits. Generally, companies sell features while people buy benefits. You can look at advertising. You can look at advertising on TV, advertising in magazines, and you look, is the company pushing features? The product does this, it does that, it does that, it has this, it does this. Or does it focus on benefits? Cleans in half the time, makes you feel wonderful, gives you back your youth, whatever. Benefits versus features. If you create products and services and you focus on the benefits, that's very powerful. If you look at infomercials on TV late at night, I guess they've crept into midday as well, they are really good at focusing on features, and they're really good at focusing on benefits at the same time. I was watching one that may have not been so good on benefits, though. It was selling a vacuum cleaner, and it went something like this. Our engineers have created a vacuum cleaner motor that's twice as powerful as any competing motor of the same size. In fact, it is so powerful, it can do this. And he went over and he sucked a bowling ball, not, of course, up through the vacuum cleaner, but he attached the bowling ball to the end of the vacuum, and he could hold it, and he could shake it, and the bowling ball didn't move. That's an amazing feat for features. Now, a couple years ago, I spent a few years in Copenhagen, and I was living, what one might say, a bachelor life in an apartment, which is code for dirty. But no matter how dirty my apartment get, I didn't have too many bowling balls around that I had to vacuum. Hmm. So what if we rewrote that commercial to something like this? Our engineers have created a vacuum cleaner motor that's twice as powerful of any existing motor of similar size. What that means to you is that instead of going over the rug twice, you only have to go over the rug once, so you're finished vacuuming in half the time, so you can spend more time with your family. Well, of course, that's the vacuum I want. That's the vacuum I want. Again, focusing on the benefits, not the features. So when you're building your opportunity, you need to take into account what sort of benefits are you going to bring to the table? What sort of benefits help fill out your value proposition? Features, benefits. Likely competitive response. This really separates. I don't want to say the men from the boys, but the professionals from the amateurs. The professionals from the amateurs. Because when I read business plans, what tends to happen is entrepreneurs describe what they're going to do, their strategy, and they describe it in a way that we're going to do. In March 1st, we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this in September, and then we're going to do this, and we're going to hire this number of people, we're going to sell this number of things. They act as if they were in a vacuum, that the environment, that the competitors didn't exist, and were not going to react to anything that they were doing, and they can just do whatever they want. So if you think about what the competitors are likely to do, and you can demonstrate that in your plan, that ramps up the appreciation of the people who read that plan. They say, okay, these guys have really thought about what's going on. These guys have some skill. These guys are thoughtful. Let me give you a quick example. About 10 years ago or so, I was in the Tunnelbanan, and I saw a big advertisement there, and it said the Stockholm News was coming. The Stockholm News was coming. The Stockholm News was going to be an evening version, kind of Metro. An evening version of Metro. And this was in August, and it was going to be coming in a couple of weeks. Okay, fine. So a week or two later, I was going down into the Tunnelbanan, and some guy dressed up in, an old guy dressed up in green, gave me a newspaper. So I said, okay, Stockholm News must have been here. It must be here. But when I opened it up, it actually was a newspaper in green and not red. The Stockholm News, their colors were red. So I said, okay. And I looked at it, and it didn't say Stockholm News. It said Everyday. And I said, what is this? Well, Jan Stenbeck, who is the founder of Metro, must have taken the Tunnelbanan, or someone working with him was taking the Tunnelbanan, and they saw that the Stockholm News was coming too. Now, Metro had a morning paper. Metro had morning staff, had morning infrastructure, paper, print, everything you needed for an afternoon or evening paper. So when they got the news that Stockholm News was coming, what they did is they beat them to the punch and came out with Everyday. Now, a week later or so, Everyday came out. Stockholm News came out. And so when you went down to the Tunnelbanan station, there was a guy dressed in red handing out Stockholm News, and there was a guy dressed in green handing out Everyday. And you know what happened? Stockholm News went out of business in a couple of weeks. They did not think of what the competitor in the environment was going to do. They didn't even see Metro as a competitor. They saw the market as totally open. Just because Metro was going to be in the daytime, they didn't think that Metro could also come in the evening. They got killed. They got crushed. Everyday lasted not much longer. they stopped running. It's unclear whether they stopped because there was no need for them anymore, or they stopped because they weren't successful. At the end of the day, the competitive threat of Stockholm News was eliminated, and at the end, the advertising rates for Metro in the morning went up. You need to be aware of what you do has an impact on the environment, and what you do, people are watching, and your competitors are going to respond. And how you respond to their response is going to separate you from the also-rans. So keep that in mind. Very important. What are the competitors likely to do? Just like in chess. You make one move, the opponent makes another move. You make one move, he makes another move. Okay? It really is like a game of chess. So where do you start getting information about the competitive environment? Where do you start getting information about market space? Internet, of course. Personal visits. Talking to customers. Talking to suppliers. Okay. Looking at competitors' ads and their speeches and presentations and trade shows and magazines and journals and trade journals and whatnot. There's so much information available that if you do some research, you are very likely able to create a very nice picture of what's going on in the marketplace. So that's what I would do to begin getting an idea of what's going on in market space. To end this portion of the lecture, here is an example of some characteristics that might lead to a desirable or attractive market. Large market size or a large market segment, high growth, low seasonality, low price sensitivity, okay, low strength of trade or good supplier relations, highly differentiated, long life cycles, high profit, high barriers to entry. I mean, if you can find markets that have some or most of these characteristics, you're going to have a market that is very attractive. But keep in mind, just because the market is attractive does that mean that automatically you're going to be successful. Because also, if you see the market as being attractive, others are going to see the market being attractive as well. And depending upon how they're able to handle the barriers to entry as you are, this market, attractive as it may be, may become very competitive. Okay. So I think we're going to end this portion of the lecture here, and we'll see you soon.